Our new sponsored bettor is a fast-growing daily fantasy sports app. Sign up today with promo code Playbook to receive two $100 no-sweat tokens for a limited time only. Welcome to the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. I'm your host, Brandon. With me this week, we got two special guests, all part of Playbook. We got Ray here and we got David Ferrel here. How y'all doing?
Good.
What up?
We good.
What up?
Good.
What up,
Yeah,
what
we're
up,
here
what up?
talking about. We're here. We're gonna talk about some Heat basketball. We haven't really just dialed in on the Heat this season. Like usually, I have like a one or two podcasts where I'm just a little more tapped in on the Heat. But honestly, it's been like a rocky season for the Heat. Hasn't been too much notable things going on around them, so I haven't had like that one episode just dedicated to the Heat. But here we are now. I guess first off, like, what are your guys' thoughts on the Heat season so far? I'll start with you, Ray.
Boys stink. I mean, just to be completely honest, it's this is just like a playback of the last 2 months of last season. They were up, they were down, they were up, they were down, they were up, they were down. They started hot. Um, Obviously, the addition of Norm was fantastic the first 15, 20 games of the season. You didn't have Tyler Hero through really the first half of the season. And they managed pretty well to start. But then, the thing that usually happens with Miami is the injuries kind of mounted. And not even that they mounted, but it was just like every time you turn the corner, somebody was missing time. Tyler obviously missed the start of the season. Norm missed a little bit of time. Bam missed a little bit of time. Hyman missed a little bit of time. They were really counting on Jovic, and Jovic didn't pan out, and then Jovic missed a bunch of time. Ware missed a little bit of time. Everybody in just some capacity managed to miss just enough time that they could never find any type of synergy and any type of real clear offensive rhythm that they could build off of. And as the season has progressed on, I mean, obviously, that like I said, they've had their ups. They had 7-game win streak a couple like just last week or the week before that was snapped. They had the like the 83-point game from Bam. Norm made the All-Star team. Wiggins was actually playing fantastic up until he just hurt his toe a couple weeks back. And everything just kind of piled up on him. And we're now at the season where you see the results of a roster construction that's not great. You see the results of a team that has been depleted by injuries, and you've seen a team that doesn't have a quote unquote true like number one scoring option. And they're in the thick of the the play-in race for the fourth straight season, third straight season, fourth straight season, something like
Feels like
that.
10th.
10th, yeah, since its inception, basically, we've been here. And yeah, like they're just in the throw of it again for the fourth straight time, and that's really you could give them a little bit of leeway for their injuries, but like the rest of it, that's just on the Heat being the Heat. And yeah, 10th or 9th, whatever it was, I'd have to look at the standings. I haven't checked today, but it just kind of all makes sense.
10th,
Thank
yeah.
you, David. Yeah, it just kind of all makes sense as to you look back at what's going on this season and you see the position that they're in and what they're fighting for, and it's like, all right, y'all stink.
no, yeah, and I think like the thing with the Heat too is like you had like as you said like these ups and these downs, and like, these waves come with certain guys being out, and certain guys being in. So I guess my question to you, David, is like what would like their optimal lineups look like? Because it seems to me like when they're fully healthy, they haven't been able to find like that synergy with like who should be playing. Their defense has dropped off a ton. Like on the season, they're like the 7th ranked defense. According to Cleaning the Glass, in the last 2 weeks, they're 27th. So that's been a major drop off, and a lot of that too is you have Tyler Hero coming back, you have Norm Powell coming back. You're trying to work those guys together. They didn't, as Ray was saying, they didn't get to play a lot together earlier on this season, and now you're starting to see them play together. The defense starts to slip. So I guess my question to you would be like, what should their lineup look to be if they're looking to not be in the play-in and be in the playoffs, just as it is?
Well, I think for starters, we got to stop running this 3-guard lineup that Spo keeps throwing out with Davion, Tyler, and Norm. I have not seen it work to the best of their ability. And you see when it comes to switches, when it comes to like man to man, whether it's or if it's zone, they're continuously struggling to hang their hat on the defensive end, which is crazy because what's crazy to me is they're still top 10 in defensive rating and everything, but I've just over the course of this season, I have not felt that way whatsoever about this defense. So, I think because they're in the position they're in, where they're sitting at 10th and they have to try, if you're going to try to climb back in the standings and try to get out of the play-in when you only have 8 games to go, for me, I feel like they have to win out if they're going to even be able to make that sixth seed possibly. And obviously you have to have things go right with the other teams. But I truly feel the starting lineup should be Kasperis Yakachonis, Tyler Hero. I would say Pele Larson, but I do like Pele coming off the bench along with Jaime because I feel
Yeah.
like they give you the most amount possible when it comes to the little intangibles that this team needs. So, and I get salary comes into play. So I feel like, Wiggins would be that other guy in the starting lineup, along with Bam and Khalil Ware. Now, we've had multiple discussions, multiple people saying that the Bam and Ware tandem won't be able to work. And we've seen time and time again where Khalil Ware can play himself off the floor. And it's unfortunate because we do have high hopes for him. But I really think that for the rest of the season, you just have to try this lineup in particular because it's not only for like getting back in the standings, it's more for the development of the young players and Cass and Ware and even Pele Larson. Those guys are gonna be here for the future, and I feel like the more playing time that they get, the more it's gonna help them in their careers as they're going forward. So it would be, Kasperis Yakachonis, Tyler Hero, Andrew Wiggins, Bam Adebayo, and Khalil Ware. That'd be the starting lineup I would go with moving forward.
Yeah, and I feel that lineup. I guess my only like little thing I would question with that one would be the Ware Pele things. I think on any given night, like you can sub either one of those two out and have one of them two starting. But I think your mind's in the right space there with like going with KL because I think the future is going to be around him, and I think not only for him, I think for Bam as well. Bam doesn't want to play the five. Like full length for a whole season, right? So like getting him these reps, getting him to be a four more and more and more, I think also helps his progress as well. We saw it this year. Like he by the end of this year, he's more comfortable playing on the perimeter a little bit more. He's shooting the ball. People are actually running out to him. They're like scared of his 3-point shot in ways that they weren't last year or even the beginning of this year. So I think for both of them, just having that Kellel and Bam tandem like work out is pretty huge for both of those guys. Is development. And it is a shame that like sometimes we come to these games and we don't know what we're getting from Kel. It's like sometimes we get like a hungry Kel who's going after every board. He's boxing everybody out. He's not too concerned about chasing blocks. And then some games he just, he's doing the Hassan thing. And it's a shame that we get to see that time to time again. But I guess that's just the habits of like a young guy and like coming into the league. That's something that was questioned with him and it's bearing fruit sometimes now. How about you, Ray? How do you feel about the Bam Kellel thing and Pele Larson where they all kind of fit in this tandem? Because I think we all agree that like KPG should be like a starting point guard by now for this Heat team. Like, there's no reason to really not play him. I know the defense does look better with Davion at times, but KP is just as good, or if not, he will be just as good on that end of the court. He has the drive for that too. So how do you feel about the starting lineup?
So I don't mind Davion starting, and I understand like why the Heat through the entirety of this have basically said like Davion's gonna be a starting point guard. That's fine, that's dandy. I think the biggest thing for me was there was a point when they tried to force feed us Tyler and Norm together. And that, just like David said, you can't have Davion, you can't have Tyler, and you can't have Norm out there, especially against teams where they play like up, they play sized up against us. And then year 4 is Andrew Wiggins, and year 5, as much as I love Bam, who can play center, is 6'10" and is really a power forward. So you're basically having everybody play up because Davion is 6 feet tall. Norm is what, 6'4", 6'5", whatever he may be. Tyler's 6'5", 6'6", something like that. And you have everybody playing out of position and playing up, and that just creates a defensive like nightmare for everybody. And Bam can't cover all that space. Davion can't cover all that space, and neither can Wiggins either. For Bam and Ware, it's weird because it's one of those situations where we've known for so long that Bam needs another big man next to him. Again, he can play center. No one's saying he can't. He can guard up. He can guard down. He can play 1 through 5. No, he cannot play 1 through 5. But yeah, you get the idea.
Mm.
And so all season and really last season, you were in a position to where you needed productive big men minutes in the absence of Bam. And you didn't get it because it was they didn't want to play Ware, and then the other side of that was Thomas Bryant, which we have a list of backup and third and tier 3 centers that have come through the Heat's organization in the past 5-6 years and just absolutely flopped on the floor. And so this year you turn around and you say, we're not going to carry a backup center into the end of the regular season. You cut Precious Achiuwa, or not even a center, but just another big man, and then you're going to play Ware. Okay, cool. Well, then for some reason, Spo decides that for whatever reason, I'm not going to play this guy but 6 minutes a game, 8 minutes a game, so on and so forth. Even after the stretch that he had. And look, I watch the kid every night. David watches the kid every night. There's times when he literally just spaces out and looks like a chicken with his head cut off. He's just out there running around, chasing balls, chasing shot blocks, chasing stats. But for me, my biggest thing is, and I understand it, like if you're that much of a detriment, you have to take him off the court. But there's times when Spo won't even let him play through it. It's literally like the first mistake, boom, get out. And if it takes 3 minutes, it takes 3 minutes. If it takes 13 minutes, it takes 13. It doesn't matter. But the first mistake is it's done. So there's no ability for him to learn through this and play through this. I personally believe that he does need to play, especially at this point, because I'm already a proponent for saying I don't want to do the play-in. I'm good. I'm fine. Go to the lottery. So
we're there either way.
So like, if he's that bad, then play him because it gets you to the position that I want to be in. If he's not that bad, then you should play him because why is he not playing? And if he is that bad, you should still play him so that he can go out there and figure something out, because I don't know anybody on the planet that could figure something out trying it 6 minutes at a time every 5th night. So I don't understand it, because on the flip side of that, he would give I watch Kasparis do stupid shit, and I am the biggest Kasparis stan that we have in the fandom. And Kasparis' leash is miles and miles longer. Yeah. So playing Bam and Ware, I still want it to happen. I think Ware is a special talent when he pulls his head out of his ass. But as for a starting lineup, it would have to be something where probably Davion. I don't care which one, if it's Tyler or Norm. You can only have one of the microwave shooters out there. Yeah. Wiggins or Pell, and probably I'll just say Wiggins because I do like Pell coming off the bench. I think he helps a whole lot, and Pell will finish games regardless of the situation. Bam, and then Ware. I feel like you have to play 2 big men. You have to separate Norm and Tyler from each other, and the wing, as far as I'm concerned, is a little, I don't want to say irrelevant, but yeah, like I can play Pell there, I can play Wiggins there, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah,
but
they do pretty much the same. So like they fill in gaps in the same type of way. Pell's just more of a ball mover than Wiggins could get into like ball stopping a little bit more than Pele does. Like Pele will let the play go, he'll let the play develop and all that type of stuff. But they're both giving you good effort on the defensive end and doing all the little things for you. The wings isn't as big of an issue, but yeah, the guard situation for sure. So between Norm and Hero, I feel like I think that where we saw our defensive drop is when we started to play those two together like a lot. Like before, we used to have at least Davion on the court. You have Davion and Pele on the court as like your guys. You have Davion Kasparis on the court as your guys, and those are defensive guy. Drew Smith was playing more minutes earlier on this season. He's a defensive guy, bigger body. So it really comes down to like having those 2 guards. And it's strange to me because we've had this in the past. Like Duncan, we've had Kendrick Nunn. We have guys who haven't been like the most stellar defensive options, and they've played together, but our defense hasn't fallen off of a cliff like it has in these years. So when it comes to like progressing past this season, if we had to keep one of those 2 guys, which of the 2 would you keep between Hero and Norm? I'll ask David.
He's asking you, brother.
Man. Preferably, I'd like them both gone.
I think I'm at that point too.
But if you're going to ask me to choose one, I'm going to go with the younger kid and Tyler Hero. Norm, for as good as he was throughout this season, especially like having an all-star bid, I just truly feel like he's not a guy that you can bank on to continue to start moving forward and expecting him to help out trying to win a championship. Now, if you're telling me that his role is going to be like as a sixth man, I could definitely like get with that and understand that. But just from what I've seen from him this season, and I just see the way that him and Tyler play together, I'd rather just cut the ties now instead of, giving him another contract and leading all the way up to when he's like 35, 36, and we're just dealing with a whole nother Jimmy situation that we don't really need to. So I would say I would rather keep Tyler, but preferably I would like them both gone.
I think Norm wants to like. I don't think he wants to come off the bench too. Like his thing
No,
has been like, I'm an
absolutely
all
not.
star this year. I've earned it. I should be a starter. So I think that's part of the
Yeah.
issue with that Spo's having right now. It says two guys, in that guard position who believe that they're all stars, have been all stars at some point in their career, and feel like they shouldn't be coming off the bench. So his his solution is trying to play them both, and that's just not conducive to winning for this team at this point. That's just not what they can do. Like hard decisions definitely have to be made. I think I'm with you though. I think Norm would be the guy. I think they still view Tyler Hero as a guy that they can use in a big trade, whether or not that trade comes along or not. This offseason, I think they have way more options for trades than they have in the past. They actually have picks to move. They can actually do some things. They have salary that's attractive to other teams. They have players that are attractive. You have young players who are attractive to other teams. So I think this is the offseason where they could actually move something. I don't know if Tyler's value is where it needs to be to get the piece that they want to anymore, though. How do you feel about that, Ray?
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that one more time for me. Just the last part.
Just like how do you feel about the Heat's options in the offseason next year? Like I think they think Tyler Hero can be a guy that they can move in the offseason. In terms of like using I don't think they want to re-sign Norm, but I think they want to use Tyler as like a trade piece if they can in the offseason this year, like in terms of like a sign-in trade or just like a little trade sweetener for another team in one of these bigger trades.
I mean, you're really in a situation where you have the option to. It's oh god. All right, so it's split three ways. You can keep both of them. I'm not saying that you can't. It's the
I mean, you
least
can.
it's the least appealing of the options in my opinion is to keep both of them, but you can. You're kind of in a situation to where uh I don't really think Tyler has a whole lot of value in the league, like probably the Heat would hope that he does. And I don't
Nice
think
pass.
that Norm's value has risen that much because he finally made an all-star team. Because on the flip side of that, anybody watches any Heat game will watch that and go, okay, well, obviously he can score the basketball, but holy shit, he is terrible on defense, and this is bad. Like
You
this
can't
is.
play me.
I didn't think that Tyler. I mean, I thought that Tyler was bad on defense, but my God, I watched Norm out there, and I'm like, bro, I could do better. And so it's kind of funny because I don't think they have a whole lot of options unless somebody wants Norm. And I think it means, and I say that meaning that if they want Norm, it's a championship team that's basically going to tell him, hey, we want you to be like the third or fourth option, and you're the last piece that we need because we have to get past the Thunder. And we need just one more body that can just light it up and just kind of overpower their defense. The same thing with the Spurs and some of the other guys out west. Obviously, I think in the next couple of years that East will make a rise up through that and be more competitive. But like Tyler, just to me at this point, just kind of seems like a guy that we're just gonna be trapped and stuck with until the wheels just truly fall off and the Heat pull the lever and say, all right, everybody has to go. And I don't see that coming anytime soon. So my biggest thing is probably I think that when you get into the new league year, because I believe Norm Norm is expiring next year, correct?
Yeah. He'll be expired. Yeah. So they either have to resign him or let him walk.
Yeah,
Or
I very much imagine that once the new league season starts, and trades are able to be available, that Norm's name will be shopped and spoken about frequently. I don't really anticipate. Personally, this is all personal speculation. I don't personally believe that he makes it into the start of next season because you have to find something. You have to find something to to patch up some of the holes
Yeah,
in other places than things that you have. And even if it means that you go get like a couple second round picks for Norm, I don't care because we got him for free anyway. Like you
yeah,
have to
yeah.
do something to start repairing the shit. And Norm kind of seems like the easiest guy to do that with. Now, if it's the opposite way and somebody offers something that's viable for Tyler, send it. But if not, kind of seems like Norm's the guy that you
Yeah,
send him off, find something better.
I think that he would love for someone to be all in on Tyler and they could just trade him away and get some good stuff for him back. But I think we're at the point where that's kind of like that archetype just isn't getting value right now from anyone anywhere around the league. Like Cam on the Bucks, they just released him. That's the second time getting released in one season. So that type of player just doesn't seem to be attractive to many teams this year. So I think Norm, there's a better chance, like you said, like a Thunder, like even like a Thunder before they got Jared McCain could have used like a Norm Powell. Like some of these teams who are like one piece away who just need like an offensive scorer. I think Norm is a more palatable price for them than like a Tyler Hero would be at this point. So I think you guys are right. Like I think we're gonna end up keeping Tyler Hero. Hopefully it's not for like a large price tag. Like hopefully it's not for too much. Hopefully it's like less than 25, but I don't know with the way that the Heat tend to do things. I feel like
we're
it's
so
gonna be
cooked. We are so
more
cooked,
than that.
brother.
But I think Norm can't be here, in my opinion, if Tyler's going to be here. It does not work in that capacity. I guess moving on to something a little bit more optimistic, David. What was your biggest surprise this year for the Heat?
So I tweeted it probably like a couple days ago, but I feel like there's definitely two surprises this year. Or well, three actually. I'll get to the third one a little bit. But the first one would be Jaime Jaquez. I think that after last season, there was a lot of people in Heat Nation that kind of left him for dead, and basically didn't expect anything other than trying to get him the hell out of here, which is perfectly fine. Like he
I was trying
definitely
hard, man.
had a terrible sophomore season and it was definitely hard to defend at times. You know, there was many conversations about whether we would want him or Jovic on the team moving forward. And, you know, we had a lot of discourse about that. But the way that Jaime came out this season from the jump and throughout the entire season, he has been one of the most consistent players on this team, especially coming off of the bench. He definitely took on that six-man role very well, and he's in consideration for the award. Unfortunately, like I think that he kind of played himself out of it when we played against the Spurs. I know Keldon Johnson's a big name,
Mm.
and he looks like now the runaway favorite for it. But before that, it was definitely Jaime's to lose, and I feel like the way that Jaime came out this season, getting back to everything that was working for him in his rookie season, I feel like that was a big boost for this team and what we needed, especially off of the bench. And then another guy, Pele Larson, obviously the guy out of nowhere came through for us and just completely became the glue guy to where Spo himself said that this man, you can't take this man off the court.
We're getting broken up over it. Calm down.
You
Deep breaths,
cannot
Dave.
take
Deep
that man
breaths.
off the court. And the way that, you know, he has carried himself throughout this season, whether it's in the starting lineup, whether it's in the bench role. I think that he's played every single role this season for the Heat, and he's done it at a very good level. And he's made sure that, you know, moving forward, I think the Heat definitely have something in him where he's going to be able to help us going forward in the future for these other guys. And the third surprise is Nikola Jovic because
Oh,
man, oh
I,
man.
I was gonna get to him, but I was gonna talk about disappointments, and I was gonna get I was gonna go straight to him.
Okay, okay, we'll get to disappointments and we'll
Yeah.
definitely sure as heck talk
We'll,
about him. But
yeah, yeah.
I'll hold off on that. But go ahead, go
We'll
ahead.
touch on him for sure.
Yes.
But I think I'm with you with the two guys with Jaime and Pele, like 100%. Like I think with Pele though, I saw a little bit more of it in the offseason when he was doing some of like that. I think it was the FIBA stuff that he was playing with. You could see some of the makings and some of like the stuff that he would be that like Spo would like from him. at least, like some of like the intangibles. So the Pele one was surprising with how effective he was, because I think when he starts, they're like like I think they're like 12 and like 5, or they have like an absurd winning percentage when he's a starter on this team. So like his value as like a role player and just him being like one of those elite level, not I mean he looking to be one of those elite level like role players has been quite a pleasant surprise, I think, for the Heat, and definitely someone that they should try and keep moving forward. I think all these archetypes that they try to get from like from the G League or from second round picks, this is the type of guy that they like from that. So I think Pele has been one of the biggest pleasant surprises. But Hami for sure. Hami coming into this year, I was so out on Hami. Like year one, I was in on Hami. Year two, I was completely out on him. Offseason, I tried to move him every chance I could in every fake trade that I made. But I've been like huge surprise for him this year, just to be in contention. And honestly, to me, he still should be the sixth man of the year, because he did it throughout the entire year. Like I think some of these other guys that are like in contention for sixth man of the year have been in and out. I think Jame's been steady like throughout the entire year, and he's impacted winning. I think him too. Like when he is playing, I feel a lot more comfortable with the Heat chances in games, and when he's not there, I feel like our bench just really lacks what he brings to the table every single night. How about you, Ray?
You're talking about Pell or Jaime?
Both. Whichever one you want.
I mean, look, I've said this about both of these guys, and I'm fixing to like poop on them before I praise both of them. But like, I've gotten to the point where both of them were like, I can't stand to watch either of them shoot a three. That's like my biggest thing. But the offense they provide inside of the 3-point arc for the Heat it's absolutely like it's game changing. Especially like you were talking about earlier. Jaime last season was to the point like Jovic is obviously worse this season, but like it was reaching that level of like, get him off the court. I can't do this anymore. Whether he was hurt, whether he was just having the sophomore slump, whatever. And then you fast forward to this year, and I mean, there's been a couple stretches where he's missed 2, 3, 4 games for various reasons, and you can blatantly tell that there's a spot in a section of the offense that it just doesn't work. And a lot of it's coming from the bench, and I'm sorry, it's where Jaime's coming from. It's coming from the bench, and just his inability, or I'm sorry, not his inability, but the fact that he's not there. Like, there's nobody that gets into the paint. There's nobody that attacks and really kind of like drives the defense down to a point where everything collapses. And Pell is such a smart, just a smart people. When we do the spaces, they just call him a winning player. When I do stuff with 5 Reasons, they just call him a winning player. I have yet to hear anybody have negative like things to say, negative connotations about Pell, because you just watch the things that he does on the court and the way that he goes about it. Everything is intentional. Even funny enough, even the way he uses his face and the way he plays defense, like those things, like they're intentional and there's a thought process behind them, and those things lead to good things on either side of the court. And then conversely, on the opposite end, as whatever he's done on either the offensive or defensive end, it translates on the flip side. So both of those guys for me all season have really like exceeded my expectations. I don't want either of them to go anywhere, especially after what I saw from Jaime last year. Jaime can stay. Pell for sure can stay. I need them to learn to shoot the three more consistently. That is my biggest thing.
Pell on the 3 ball is interesting to me, because I feel like when he was first, like last year, I feel like that was more of his thing. Like shooting was more of like what he was like better at, and like this year it's just like
he was good at
everything else
too.
on lost that. Yeah. I remember him being a shooter. So it's just strange that kind of like tailed off, but everything else is like gotten better, which I guess that's the trade-off sometimes you're gonna make.
Part of me thinks, and like he's not one of those guys that like, how do I put this? They've got some shooters out there that are so weird about their physical stature. Tyler's a perfect example of this. Tyler will not get bigger in the chest and the shoulders and the arms because he's afraid it's gonna mess his shot process up. I genuinely believe, because if you look at Pell is a tree trunk built inside of a tree trunk. And I think that he might have got a little too strong for his own good. And it you add muscle, you add mass, and the way that your body is able to flex, it is able to rotate, it is able to do all the things that you need to happen inside of a basketball game to make a shot. I think those things are a little off for him this season, because it wasn't this bad last year. It wasn't this bad at Arizona either. And sorry, my cat just tried to fall off of. Okay, never mind.
Cats being cats.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, like those two dudes, and especially I want to say this too before like I like forget about it. I think Pell is one of the best cutters on the team. And if you watch the rest of this team, we have a very bad problem with like the IQ of playing off ball. And Pell provides a lot of relief from the bench in those
Yeah.
off ball situations. And like without that, I just feel like without those two things from those two guys, the bench would not be even remotely close to what it is. And I know it has its down nights, but like, yeah, those two dudes are kind of the saving grace for the Heat.
Yeah, I think two things that you brought up there, like the shot, like leaving, but I think what gained with the shot was him getting to the basket and the way that he actually looks to get fouled and absorbs the contact. Him getting bigger, I think, helped his confidence in like doing some of those things. Like he'll seek out the kind of like Jimmy would, kind of like Kami does too at times. It's like they'll actually initiate the contact and be willing to absorb that contact and still finish through the play. Versus like a guy like Tyler, who will just like kind of like
The
avoid that
floater,
contact
the
and just
WAF.
go for a floor, go for patented waff or whatever it may be. But Pelly's one guy who will embrace that contact and actually look for it, and he gets rewarded with that call more times than he doesn't. But I think the second thing that you said there about Pele too, with his cutting, is that's something that not a lot of guys on this team do, and I think it's few and far between. We lost that. So that's something that Duncan was good at, Shoes was good at. Like some of these role guys are good at those things, and it helps elevate the offense when things are looking a little bit stagnant. When we brought back Tyler and Norm, those are two guys who don't do that much, and that
Right.
off-ball movement is lost. And in this offense, you need that off-ball movement to be consistent and constant. And losing that from those guys, I think hurt the offense in ways that we just didn't expect. Like, yeah, Norman, Tyler, they're going to be shot makers. They're going to be able to create shots in ways that other guys can't. But all those little things that get you the easy buckets that help your offense progress when things are moving slow are very valuable. I think Kame and Pele bring those things to the table extremely well. Did you have something to say, David, on that?
Yeah, when it comes to Pele, like I agree with all the points that you guys made. I just think that his three-point shooting has dipped a bit because of the personnel that he has around him, especially when he's on the court. A lot of guys that play around him, other than Jaime, they are not trying to drive to the rim as much as like him and Jaime kind of have to. So these guys are more comfortable with these stand up 3-point shots
Right.
that these guys can create for them. So I understand why his 3-point shot has dipped off a bit because he's not out there standing like waiting to shoot anymore. He's kind of put in a position to where he kind of has to make the decisions now
Yeah.
and he actually has to attack the rack, which he has been able to do like over his time and then even in Arizona. But I feel like he's doing it extremely more this year as opposed to the last few years that he's been playing on ball. So I think that's where it comes down to his 3-point shot. And it still looks good. Like his 3-point shot is still very fluid. Like for me, when I see him shoot, I feel like he's going to make it most of the time. And I have a lot of confidence in him. And even if it's not dropping at some point, he doesn't settle and he doesn't stay there and he doesn't continue to try to jack up those shots. So I think he's kind of trying to find the balance. And I think that we also need to do better when it comes to constructing the roster and who we have around him. So that way he
100%.
can be able to take those like still 3-point shots and be the guy that they look to for those shots. So I
Playing with
think
Yeah.
my
that
son
that's what it
Kasparis.
comes down to.
Yeah, I think that's 100%. Yeah, because I think that was also a point of emphasis, like coming into this season, because we saw it in like summer league, and we saw it when he was again playing for Poland, right? In the offseason during the FIBA stuff, Sweden.
Sweden, yeah, Sweden.
Sweden, yeah, it was one of those, one of those countries. Yeah, but we saw that over there. It's like he was doing a lot of more ball handling. Previous years, he wasn't doing that. So I think coming into this year, they wanted to make him a guy that they can trust with the ball to make plays because they do value him as like a winning player. So they want to give him more tools to do more winning things with. But yeah, I think that comes at the detriment of like getting the easier threes that would heighten your percentage or see fall in more often than not. So moving on to the biggest disappointments, I think we'll go back to you, David. Who are some of your biggest disappointments?
Well, I mean, if all three of us don't have Nikola Jovic as the biggest disappointment this season, then I'm gonna have a problem, and we're gonna have to argue for a
Mine,
long time
I
to
have
figure
somebody
this out.
higher. I have somebody higher on the list, but Jovic is on my list. Don't worry.
So you're given what was it like 3 years, 64 in the off
Around
season?
that, yeah,
So
45,
I mean, and this is all off potential. Me and Ray before this season
462.
were very, very high on Nikola Jovic's like presence, what he could do. We called
I
it
had him
the
most
we
improved
call
player, man.
we called it the Jovic hive. We tried to paint a picture that this guy was ready to finally take that next step. And I know he's been in the doghouse, like especially at the start of his rookie season, barely got any playing time. It was very hard to have a Nikola Jovic sighting. And then finally, before this season, like into last season, we saw the potential that he could possibly have when he had the ball in his hands going down the court. And there were times where, you're going to make mistakes, but that's why I feel like us playing the young players is more beneficial for them moving forward, because I watched Nikola Jovic get yanked so many different times because of his bad play that it shot down his confidence and he wasn't the same player when he didn't have it going. Dropping his head, not getting back on defense, not making the right reads, getting turnovers, not being able to get back fast enough and, recover. So I feel like with the way that he came out this season and, whether he had injuries, whether he didn't, whenever he was in the game, it was very underwhelming and not the type of thing you want to see for a guy that you just gave an extension to. And on top of it, he hasn't played remotely well enough to where you can sell that to a team in the offseason.
Yeah, that's extremely difficult, right there, because
It's
like
extremely disappointing.
you gave him that contract as like one, yeah, you like the player. You like him, you think he's gonna improve, you think he's gonna be one of the young guys that takes the next step, as many of these Heat guys do at this point in their career. So they gave him that contract in good faith, but I think they also gave him that contract early so they could use him as a trade chip. And when you have a season like this, there is no trade. There is no trade that you're sweetening with a guy like this. You're now in a position where you have to rebuild his value, his value as a player, so that a team will want to take a chance with him and just be like, oh no, he was young, he was with the Heat, it was a tough situation. Maybe it's different with us. That's what you're hoping for at this point, but that's not going to come until I think next season. So I think they're in a pretty tricky spot with him. I was I was cautiously high on him entering this season. Like I wasn't as high as like I wasn't in the Jovic hype. Like to be very clear, I was not there. But I was like very ambitious about what he could be as a player. Like I saw the tools that the Heat saw that they could use him for, like his passing, his shooting, his playmaking. Like I saw the uniqueness that he had. I just always one thing that was always in the back of my mind was his inconsistency as a shooter, and that just followed him throughout wherever he played. Like even before before he hit the NBA, he was still an inconsistent 3-point shooter. So that's always in the back. That was always in the back of my mind, and it's just his mental makeup. Sometimes when he was like missing shots or like got a turnover, stuff like that, he put his head down, he'd run back. You could see the energy just completely drop off when he wasn't feeling himself. Which I think Jimmy kind of helped when he was here. I think Jimmy just gave him a lot of confidence, which made him like feel more comfortable on the court and stuff like that. I don't know if he has a guy like that within the locker room since Jimmy has left. I think Kel has that with Bam. Bam fully trusts him and all that. So I think Nikola has struggled to find a guy like that for him that I think also kind of affects his mental makeup, like going into some of these games. Ray, you biggest disappointments? You said you had a hot one.
So I had three. Obviously, Jovic is on that list, and we've covered that enough. Tell his mama to come get him. I don't know what to tell you about that one anymore. The next one is Tyler. And I can give you just the tiniest. I can give you just the tiniest bit of credit, benefit of the doubt, whatever you can call it. Being born with a bone spur that breaks off in your foot, you have to have the surgery, whatever. But Tyler has done some things this season offensively that I cannot stand and I don't understand. One of them being the fact that he won't shoot the threes anymore the way that he
Yeah, that
used
one's
to.
strange.
He's completely reverted into the weak floater. I don't feel like even in the 27 games that he's played so far this season, he's built off of anything from the All-Star season he had previous. And I mean, he's still a cone on defense. And I get like you're never gonna upgrade yourself from a bad defender to like an all-world beater, but like I don't understand how he's gotten like literally has gotten no better. Like it honestly baffles my mind. And then the third is a group because it's the front office. Like the front office has disappointed me to no end this entire season, and it really culminated uh, at the trade deadline
Yeah.
when, like I've said this multiple times on every one of the spaces that we go into, like the Heat. I don't care what Shams said about how they knew 24 hours beforehand. No, they knew like 3 days. They knew with plenty of time that they weren't going to get Giannis at the deadline, and they didn't do anything. I mean, nothing. They haven't even cut Terry Rozier and gone and signed somebody to a vet minimum to fill the roster spot when you clearly need a backup big. So I've talked about this a lot this season where I think, and this is really why I don't want to even make the play in. Like I want to get bounced before that nonsense even starts. I need the front office to get hit in the mouth by their own ego for once, because they have been stuck on this idea and this thought process and this logic that, and I get it, it won them championships, it brought them success. But everything that they have done in years past and prior is always going to be correct. It's always going to be the right thought process. It's always going to be the right move to do. And they have sat on their hands and they have built no war chest. They have given bad contracts out thinking thinking to themselves, well, we got off of James Johnson, we got off of Tyler Johnson, we got off of Hassan and blah, blah, blah. We can get off of Jovic and so on and so forth. They have brought themselves to a decision where they think that they can always fix their bad decisions. And the thought process and the logic that they have also come to is, well, if we get the right matchups, we can compete with anybody. No, that is a terrible logic. And it's the only reason why I hate the fact that we made the finals from the bubble, because you have to have a very special type of roster construction, and you have to have a very special type of player to do those things. And I'm not bashing Bam, who I think is a very special type of player to do some of those things, but like the Heat have sat and watched this for a year now and have done nothing. And I do mean nothing about it. So above all else, like the Heat's front office has disappointed me more than anybody on the Heat's roster could ever do.
Yeah, I think I could back that there. My only caution would be like they got bounced last year in the first round in such an embarrassing way, and the front office didn't seem to care. Like they tried to get KD, I put in like quotations. They tried to get KD, but they didn't do anything really serious. Norm kind of fell in their lap, and that was like their one big move that they made since like last year. So yeah, I'm with you. Like I think it was completely underwhelming. I think they should have had some type of backup plan when it came to the trade deadline. Like if you're not going to get Giannis, like sure you can shoot for him again in the offseason, but this season still matters, and you guys talk like this season still matters. So you should have some moves lined up, or at least attempted to try to make.
Which again, to that statement, I stand by. If you think it still matters, why have you not cut Terry Rozier?
Exactly.
And like that, like again, like they just keep doing things that tell me that like they're in their head of I'm right, you guys are wrong, and sit on it and deal with it. And it's like, no, this is a problem.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like they really gotta look themselves in the mirror and make some tough decisions. I think this year is like a real make or break year. I think guys like a guy like Bam is gonna get frustrated at some. Like you gotta make sure like these things don't happen before they happen. Like you gotta be proactive in some of these things, and that's something that the Heat haven't been good at being, is proactive. So even with this Tyler situation, he's an expiring. You should have got something for him at the trade deadline if you weren't going to extend him. It doesn't seem like they like thrilled in the they don't seem thrilled to want to resign him anyway. So like if you're not thrilled to resign him, do something with him at the trade deadline where his value is still something. Now it's going to be close to next to nothing. It's going to be hard to get anything for him. I think all those are valid though. Like all your biggest disappointments valid. Before I started this podcast, I didn't think of this person. I did want to talk about this person, but I think more and more of the season has went on. I think this is one of my most disappointing years from Spoelstra, and that I could remember. I think he started off the year strong. I think he came in with a new offense. Everyone seemed to be bought in. Things were looking good at the beginning of the year. Then, the middle of the season happened. Bam got hurt. People got hurt, and we saw a little dip. But I think for me, it's like how he's handled like the Bam KL stuff, which for the most part, I would say for like 80% of the season, I've been on board with. I thought he should have been coaching them a little bit harder. Kel seemed to respond to like the hard criticism whenever like Spo called him out publicly. He would bounce back with like good games. So I'm like, okay, that seems to be a dynamic that works for those two. Even if us as fans or whatever don't seem to understand the dynamic, but it seemed to at least work. But further on, moving further into the year, it's just like some of these decisions in must-win games. Like the most recent one I could think of is I forget which team it was, but it was a very important game. And you have it was the game where the tip-in happened, the Rockets game. And on the last play of the game, you have guys who are not defensive players on the court still to this day. I understand that sometimes you want your stars on the court no matter what. There are no stars on this team if it's not Bam. So there's no stars you need to be protecting on this team to keep them in the games when it's not their strong point. So I think for Spo, this just has been a very disappointing year for him because we've seen the potential in this team at some points. We've seen what they can be at some points. We've seen what lineups work at some points, but he seems to be in a position where he either doesn't have the confidence in himself to like put forth what lineups work properly throughout a whole game, or he just doesn't have the sway that he used to before. He's scared about messing up the locker room or whatever it may be, where in the past, I don't think that's been the case. But yeah, I think one of my biggest disappointments for sure would be Spo.
And see, the other thing you just touched on too, and I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Honestly, at this point, I do think it's time that he hurt somebody's feelings. But like you watch throughout the season where you gotta like he very obviously does not want to hurt Davion's character, thought process, feelings, soul, whatever, by moving him to the bench. He very obviously does not want to hurt Norm's feelings or Tyler's feelings by moving them to the bench. But like those three guys are really the three that, again, David talked about the 3-guard lineup. Like, you guys are kind of the issue. It's not that each one, it's each one of you individually, but like you three as a group together, this is an issue. And for whatever reason, because Spo has listened to Dwayne told him at one point in his life, I made you, I'll break you. And he survived that. So I don't understand why Spo has suddenly gotten so much softer on these people after all this. Because Spo was like, I guess who's not going to get fired? Me. Yeah. So hurt Davion's feelings, hurt Norm's feelings, hurt Tyler's. Who cares?
Spo put weight on the bench. He made him a 6-man. Like he's had like he made Ray Allen a 6-man in a year that like Ray Allen was not happy with that stuff. Like he's had these confrontations with Hall of Fame players. To do it to Tyler Herro, to do it to a Norm should be nothing to him. Right. But it seems to struggle. He seems to struggle with it more now than he ever did before.
I think also when it comes to Spo, a lot of these conversations come from the amount of times we've blown leads, and you can count like 2 handfuls in all the last 4 seasons of how many leads we have blown mid-game. And beforehand, when it came to us as a first seed, in the Eastern Conference against the Celtics, I think that the worldwide known thing about Spo was his in-game adjustments, and his ability to create good defensive strategies against very, very good teams. And I feel like as the years have gone on, the multiple times that we have seen us blow leads, he barely even wants to call a timeout anymore while the stuff is going on. And the in-game adjustments, he's not doing the necessary in-game adjustments. And it might go to Ray's point to where you're worried about someone else's feelings, but at this point in time, you're going on your 4th straight year of being a play-in team. When does it sit in with either you or the people upstairs that we have a problem that goes beyond my coaching? And the fact that you're not doing anything to help me out in this sense, we are going to continue to struggle. But that also goes on him, because there are multiple games this season where we could have won with just some, changes, whether it was mid-game, whether it's the starting lineup.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, David. The very first game of the season.
Against the Magic.
All you had to do was put Ware in at the end of the game, and look what happened. That should have been a precursor, an omen for everything.
And just like in that Rockets game, when we're talking about the box out, like why do you have Tyler Hero on the floor? Like switch him out for Myron
Why is
Gardner.
Timoni on the floor?
Like
Why are either of those guys on the floor?
Which is
it,
crazy. Which is crazy too, because like that whole thing was messed up because. Like as much as everyone wants to blame Tyler, and I'm fine blaming Tyler at this point after
It
watching the
was a Pele
replay,
thing.
and that's the point. He's like, Pell, brother, my Swedish fish, my homie, why are you going to help? There's one person. There's one person. None of y'all have to help. Go stay over there. Why are you helping Bam? I don't care if it's Jesus Christ. Bam is Jesus Christ on defense. Leave him alone. And he literally played the shot so well that like he basically was gonna block it, and Pell's out of position, bunny hopping around because he wanted to come play help defense, which ends up putting Tyler in a precarious position because now he's got to box out either Ben Shep or Reed Shepard or Amen Thompson. And yes, Tyler's ball watching, but like Spo, hey brother, don't you think you should have told everybody and their mama? Because I mean, I knew this was coming. The ball's
But I
going to
think
KD.
I think this goes back
Go
to your
guard
point.
KD.
It goes back to my point earlier. It's like he lost the group at some point. There was a quote that came out, I think it was like midway through the year, that Norm had, that's like guys aren't listening to what Spo's saying sometimes. So like he's lost the group in some capacity. Other teams that usually leads to someone getting fired. But we're at the Heat, so we'll give him a little bit of leeway with that here. And by no means do I think Spo should get fired. I just think this is a year that he hasn't been his best. For sure. He's made a lot of questionable decisions. He's lost the locker room to some degree. He's had public spats in ways that we haven't seen before. It's just not been one of his brightest years, I think, in my opinion. Anything else on the Heat before we head out?
Yes, I am going to take my time here. So, at the beginning of the season, David, you already know, I already tweeted it out too. At the beginning of the season, everybody threw a fit and cried and complained and went, why do we draft this kid from Illinois? He's a turnover machine and he cannot shoot. And I just want everybody to know that it is my pride and joy of this season. Sans Bam 83. That's in a whole different like category and echelon of its own thing. But it has been my pride and joy all season to watch every single person that has complained and thrown a fit and cried because we drafted Kasparas Shakachonis to completely flip the script, turn the tide, and say, why is Kasparas Shakachonis not starting? Now, even the ones that don't even say, why is he not starting, we're willing to at least ask the question of, why in the hell Drew Smith keep getting minutes when we have Kasparas Shakachonis? And watching just the growth of this kid over the course of the year, even from summer league into just this point in time. Like I can tell you off rip, the ball handling is 1,000 times better than it was coming from summer league. The turnover thing is not even remotely as existent as people thought it was. The defense, I think, is the biggest surprise for me. I've watched this kid stonewall people that he's got no business doing, especially in year one. You know what I'm saying? So it's been really fun and really vindicating, I think vindicating is the word that I want to use to watch like the things Kasparas has done this season, and knowing that there's a large portion of the fan base that basically is like, play the kid. We're excited for what he might turn into, and so on and so forth. So Cass has really been, when we were talking about, biggest surprises and so on and so forth, I don't even want to call Cass a surprise. Raymond knew.
You called it.
Raymond knew. But it is at least surprising to see that everybody has like turned the other cheek and say, yeah, actually, I'm with you, Ray. Kasparas is something. David was always there. I won't ever let David thinks I don't defend him on this, but David was there with me. Day one, he said, the kid should start. He should start. He did ask me why I wanted him, though, for like 3 straight weeks. He was like, why? He's garbage. But then we drafted him, and he was like, he should start 100%. So shout out David, man.
When we did our podcast right after the draft, like my co-host too, he was big on Cass. Like he was like, wow, I can't believe you got Cass. He was like, my co-host is more locked into like the draft stuff and like rookies and all that type of stuff. So when he saw us get Cass, he was like, wow, you guys actually got him at like that position. And I was like, sure. I'm like, he seems all right. Like I didn't know much about him. But I started looking into his stuff. I started looking into his stuff. I'm like, oh no, I get it. Like the playmaking that he can get to, the shooting. And when people talked about the shooting, it's like he had good stretches. He just got hurt. So he could shoot. He just got hurt for a little while, so he couldn't shoot. Like he hurt his hand. Like he's not gonna be able to shoot well. So I wouldn't say I was like you when it comes to Cass, but I was like, this guy should be all right.
I mean, there was an
Yeah,
entire GM survey about it as soon as the draft happened. Who's got the steal? The Heat. Oh, really? I wonder why. Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry.
yeah. For the starting point guard position, I get the way that Davion made himself feel at home and made Heat fans like kind of fall in love with like, the dog that he got in him, especially like when it comes to the defensive stuff. But my main concern with bringing Davion back was I did not want them to bring him back as a guy that you're going to tell me that he's going to be our starting point guard of the future. And when I saw his draft cast, as much as, I wasn't really high on cast myself, I watched the tape, sat back, watched the intangibles that he has, the playmaking abilities that he would create for his teammates at Illinois, and the way that, he got those standstill 3-point shots. I feel like he was gonna, mesh well, but like my point of me wanting him to start the entire season was strictly because I don't think that Davion Mitchell in a league that's full of elite point guards that are 6'3" and above, there's no place for Davion as the starter of your franchise.
Yeah,
I think he's definitely serviceable off the bench. He does
100%.
he does very good things. Well, in the beginning of the season, he was, one of the guys that was leading the assist to turnover ratio. So I think like obviously he has some good like tangibles like within his own rights, but it's not going to be of the echelon of the starting point guard position in the NBA today. So
Yeah,
with what Cass has done this season, especially as he's progressed, and Spo trusts him, like going off of the bench and actually giving us serviceable minutes, I feel like that has obviously, boosted his confidence moving forward. And I just want that to continue for the entirety of the season whenever the wheels fly off, whether it's in the play-in, one game and out, or possibly in a play. Like if I can get Cass in a playoff series, like I want to see these, like I don't want to see the Heat in the playoffs. I just want to be very clear about that. But I do want to see these kids be able to have some like repetition in playing these big games
yeah,
because you're not going to be able to understand how it feels unless you're actually in those games. And whether we get blown out like we did last year against the Cavs, that's one thing. You can like literally look at the entire roster, see what they did, and just understand where you have to go and the direction you have to go. Or these guys might surprise you, win a couple games, even a series, possibly, and you figure out that you have something, but you just need to make some little bit of tweaks.
yeah,
So
100%.
that's my big thing for the Heat moving forward. I don't care if they make the playoffs or if they do, but I just really want them to understand that this is the time to develop your players.
Yeah, I think that's yeah, 100%. Going into this stretch run here, these last 9 games, this is the time you could see them play these high leverage games and see what they really are made of. Whether they make the playoffs or not, they're going to play games that matter, and that's hard to find for young guys sometimes. But I think that will do it I think that's a good note to end on. So I think that'll do it for this episode of the NBA Hangout. You can follow us on Twitter at the NBA Hangout. You can follow me at BJAY93_. You can follow Ray at Ray5893. You can follow David at DFerrel15, DFERREL15 on Twitter. Thank y'all for hanging out with us. Peace.